increasingly becoming digital. The one need every business has is for more business process automation. They want to be able to connect these business processes end to end, create these systems of intelligence, systems of action.
Microsoft Dynamics being hosted in the cloud has now really given us the ability to streamline and focus on our core business processes. It gives us a really great platform to do what we need to do in our day job.
Microsoft solution gives us the ability to get the data and information anywhere, anytime. But what's more important for us is that we actually know more about our customers. We can serve them better through our engagement channels than we could ever do before.
What is digital transformation? It is in fact the fourth industrial revolution. It will change the way all businesses operate, the way they interact with their customers.
We at Sandvik Coromant are really excited how Dynamics 365 brings all the systems together, all the way from the customer to the sales interaction, helping us deliver an unprecedented level of field service.
Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us, to our partners in the room, and to the thousands of people who are online right now live, and to the many, many thousands more that will see this over the course of the coming weeks and months. Welcome to our virtual launch of Spring 18 for the Dynamics 365 application family and our business application platform. Last week we announced a pretty amazing set of functionalities spanning marketing, sales, service, operations, finance, talent, and the entire platform, Power BI, Power Apps, Microsoft Flow, the Common Data Service. Hundreds of capabilities that we're bringing together into a collective platform that we believe positions our customers and our partners to go be sort of the best armed digital transformation partner or beneficiary as you're using these products and services than anyone else in the industry can provide. It really is an unmatchable spectrum of capabilities across Office, Dynamics, Power BI, Power Apps, Flow, LinkedIn, Azure. It's really stunning, if you look at the entire landscape. And I believe that with Spring 18, in some ways, we're really pulling it all together. I'm not sure that this was necessarily a good idea, but we've got a multi-hundred-page document we had to produce in order to roll all this stuff up. And I think for the first time, it really does comprehensively tie it all together into a package in some ways that allows our customers to understand the unity and the span of all that we're doing. And that really is our objective. Now, we're doing this, as Satya said in the opening video, in order to enable digital transformation. And this is something that I'm super fortunate to be able to have conversations about just about every day. You walk onto the Executive Briefing Center on campus here at Microsoft, and there are probably 30 companies a day, every single business day of the year from somewhere on the globe that are visiting us, where we get the opportunity to understand from CEOs and their teams what's going on, what they're struggling with, what their opportunities are, how they're thinking about the journey that they need to go on as digital technologies offer them new opportunities to engage their customers, to transform their operations, to reimagine their products and services. We've talked a lot about digital transformation, but if you go ask 10 different people, what does digital transformation mean to you? You'll probably get 10 different answers. And one of the questions I get almost every time I meet with a team is, what exactly do I do? Where exactly do I start? What's the first thing I should bite off? And what's the journey that I go on? Make it practical for me. What's the prescription, right? Take it from the theoretical to the actionable. And so we've developed a point of view, a strong point of view on digital transformation, what it means, how you take action, how you take what could be very sort of theoretical and make it very, very practical. And we've sort of broken it down into a concept that we call the digital feedback loop, and it's rotating around customers, product, and people. And so what I want to do is sort of walk through the opportunity that digital technologies are providing us and our customers in these three areas, and I'll do it sort of stepwise. And so let's think about what's changing in the world. So our customers are, they're interacting with us across many, many different channels. They're tweeting, they're showing up at our websites, they're walking into our physical stores, they're calling our call centers, they're asking for help. And so, all of these interactions, all of them, are increasingly digitally intermediated. If you use my products are sending information about usage patterns. I can learn, I can observe. And this data, if collected, harnessed, and turned into intelligence, gives me information that I can use to then go very intelligently engage my customers. I can take that observational data, turn it into intelligence, and then drive my business processes to have better outcomes with my customers, to be more efficient, to engage them on their terms, right? And so this transformation powered by data, driven by intelligence, delivered through business applications at the customer side is sort of part one of, I would argue, this three-part opportunity. The second is product. Same thing's happening there. Products and services are fundamentally changing as a result of digital intermediation. You think about this domain. So the first domain, by the way, if you go back to the customer side, it's kind of where CRM traditionally has sort of lived. Right? It's all about customer engagement. This part, product service side, it's kind of where ERP has lived historically. I gather supplies from my supply chain, I manufacture, I warehouse, I distribute, hopefully get paid. But in the old world, old being 6 months ago, when products left my warehouse and sort of went through my distribution channels, unless I went and physically inspected those products, whether consumer or a piece of capital equipment in a factory, they were invisible to me. And increasingly, that is absolutely not the case. Every time I adjust my thermostat, every time a piece of capital equipment is going sideways on me somewhere in a factory, I've got telemetry that allows me to understand what's happening in a way that was never before possible. And that changes everything. You think about the ability to learn from the actual equipment where you may have manufacturing quality issues. Which supplier in which batch led to challenges based on actual observations? Where are consumables being used? So I can think about where I need to pre-plan inventory, knowing that I've got demand coming and I know exactly where it's coming from. Or the ability to understand when a piece of equipment may be on the fritz in some ways before it actually breaks down, so I can proactively go roll field service and keep the customer happy. And so this signal, this data, this intelligence on that side of the world, again, changing everything. Now I'm going to suggest that these two cycles are inextricably linked. Because as a customer's using my product, I'm learning something about that customer that I can then use to make better recommendations, keep them happy, because I'm rolling a service truck to fix a problem before they actually have a problem, right? And so tying these two things together, critically important. Now I'm going to go one step further and suggest that this last loop is also inextricably linked to the first two. So you think about what's changing on the people side, and once again, data. So every time I create a document, every time I attend a meeting, every time I send an email, every time I update my LinkedIn profile, all of this is providing insight into me and what I care about and what my needs are and how effective I am perhaps in my job, and the ability to harness that to develop, coach, find, attract, make successful your people, and to give them the tools to communicate, collaborate, and create in this environment where data is sort of the essence of these digital business processes, fundamentally different. I was in the UK probably 4 weeks ago, visiting with one of our banking customers. It was Metro Bank, and I was meeting with their CEO. And this is where sort of the light bulb went off for me on the integration across all three of these parts of the digital feedback loop. So they've created a power app called mGreet, Metro Bank Greet. And this Power App allows their retail banking employees who are working at branch banks to greet their customers as they come through the door. And they're using this mobile application to understand when the customer comes in, sort of what is their, what's their history with the bank, what are the interactions we've had, what are some suggested products and services that may be relevant to them based on learnings across my customer base, who's the banker that they should go see, how long is it going to take before the banker is ready to see them. We can text them now as they go walk around if it's going to take a while. And by the way, all this is now available through the web as well. And so the customer can schedule and never have to stand in a queue. Transformative on the product cycle, right? Their service is delivering retail banking services. But, and this is where the dots got connected, Craig is learning now, based on observing all of this, which bankers are most effective. Where do we have opportunities to increase training, to facilitate faster mortgage application processing, or the ability to open a safety deposit box more quickly, or to better recommend additional products and services that the customer may value. And so having all of these pieces connected is really what Dynamics 365 is all about. I'm going to suggest and argue that if you don't think holistically about a business, if you don't think about how a transformed product and service relates to the kind of people you need and the tools they need, and how that impacts customer service, and the ability to tie all that together, you aren't thinking clearly about the larger digital transformation opportunity at a company. These things all can work together. It really is 1 + 1 + 1 = 5 if you're sort of thinking about the problem holistically. And the thing that's most interesting, perhaps, about Dynamics 365 is not that it is in and of itself unified and holistic, but that it fits into a much larger family of products and services in the Microsoft Cloud that brings to bear all of our technology against this very opportunity. So the ability to bring productivity, communication, collaboration, to use HoloLens to think differently about the experiences that you're delivering, to infuse LinkedIn experiences inside of all of your processes. It's all of this that we believe makes Microsoft unique. And that, again, if we go back to the Spring 18 release, this is really what it's all about. It's about pulling it all together for our customers against a very strong point of view about the economic opportunity that's in front of them. So let's talk just briefly about what makes Dynamics 365 Dynamics 365. We have 4 characteristics that we talk about: modern, unified, intelligent, and adaptable. And these are sort of the essence of this product line. And just briefly, I'll touch on these. So modern. For the last 40 years, 50 years since we've had computing in business, business applications have been pretty much the same. If you were to look at a CRM system running on a mainframe or a mini computer or on a fat client, talking to a server on the back end, or in a last generation SaaS solution, you would see the same thing. One was on a green screen, one's in a browser, but it's forms over data, opportunities, leads on the CRM side, just to sort of be focused on that one. Looks like the same thing, different delivery mechanisms. Many people call this system in particular a system of oppression. No salesperson likes old school CRM. It's a surveillance tool in some ways for the management chain to understand what you're doing. What's your pipeline? What's your forecast? Do I believe it? Right? These are tools that are designed to keep track of what you're doing versus telling you what you might consider doing in order to have better outcomes. And the modern part of Dynamics 365 really is about fundamentally, and I believe really for the first time ever, thinking differently about what business applications can be. Delivering experiences right when they need to be delivered, doing it mobily, doing it in a mixed reality context, doing it infused with data, doing it integrated with social media, taking all of this modern technology, digital technology, and reimagining what's possible, taking a system of oppression and turning it into a system of empowerment, making it something as a sales guy that I want to use, that's going to help me go do what I need to do. Unified. So critically important across Dynamics 365, built on a common data model, common process fabric, allows you, regardless of where you're starting, marketing, sales, service, operations, finance, talent, anywhere in that ecosystem, it's all going to work together. If I'm selling a piece of capital equipment to an important manufacturing customer, I want to have inventory position information to understand if I can promise to deliver, right? And so having this common data model and the ability to tie it all together, critically important and part of the essence of Dynamics 365. Intelligence, we talked about this one already. The ability not just to have data, but to get value out of that data to allow you to then go intelligently make recommendations, to intelligently guide the business people who ultimately want to be empowered by this class of technology. And the last characteristic is adaptable. No business application is never done. If it's done, you're done, right? In some ways, if your market changes, if your business changes, and your systems can't change, you are one step closer to the grave as a business, right? And so adaptability, the ability to make these solutions what you need them to be through our rich business application platform, Power BI, Power Apps Flow, and this common data service, part and parcel of what we're doing. And by the way, this adaptability spans all of Microsoft's SaaS solutions. It's not just about adapting Dynamics 365, Office 365, and all of our other solutions also built on the same substrate, same extensibility customization platform, really game-changing, I believe, for our customers. So with that, let's get into perhaps the interesting stuff. Let's look at some software. Let's look at some demos. And the first one that I want to sort of focus on, and we're going to do this, by the way, loop by loop by loop here against this digital feedback loop framework. So we're going to start with this customer feedback loop. And we have brought to market a collection of products and services that is incredibly complete. It starts from that very first completely anonymous contact with a potential customer, where they're a cookie profile on the other side of a web browser session, or they are some Twitter handle that I can't connect the dots to some known identity talking about my brand out in the world. All the way from that initial anonymous contact through maximization of lifetime value, we've got solutions that start there and bring you all the way to that ultimate conclusion. And to show off Dynamics 365 for Marketing, which is a new service that we introduced just last week, Ryan Martin's going to come give us a show. Thank you.
Thank you, James. So yeah, very proud to be here today to show off Dynamics 365 for Marketing, which focuses on multi-channel campaigns, lead management, event management, and brings unique insights into a marketing organization. So today we're going to look at setting up a new event for a product launch, and then we're going to see how those insights are given to the marketing organization, and as we collect feedback, how we pass it on to our sales colleagues and they drive a deal to closure. So let's take a look here. I'm playing the role of a marketeer, and the first action that I have is actually to define the customer journey for the event that we want to host. And right out of the box, we have a rich set of templates that are available. So I'm going to select the event marketing template, which is going to give me a step-by-step process of the journey that we're looking at. And what I'm very easily able to do here is, for example, look at that journey and decide at a particular moment that we want to include a survey after an email is open. So now that we've defined the actual journey, we're going to see what segment of customers we want to bring, and then we're going to create the email that actually invites them to the event. So first of all, let's look at the segment that we've got. Here we're looking for all the North American accounts that have a revenue over 50K. So a relatively simple query that can be designed here. And we also want to say, well, let's make sure the contact that we're inviting is a decision maker in the organization. So as I actually can look and get a visualization of how the data is flowing through all of Dynamics 365 to give me that unique set of customers, I can also drill in further if I would like to segment. So we have some complex relationships within this data query, and what we're able to do here is say, well, you know what, I'd also not only like to see that they're a decision maker, I would also like to see that they belong to a preferred customer category that we have. So very easily, on the fly, within the context of the segment, I can adapt the data that we're looking at. So the journey is defined, the segment is there, it's now time to actually invite the customers to the event that we're hosting. And for that, once again, we have a rich set of templates that are available out of the box, and we can sort them by purpose. So in this case, I'm actually going to sort by the purpose for an event or webinar invitation. The templates are provided to me, and I see one that is most suitable for what I'm looking to do. So as I select that template, we get into the design part of the studio here. And what we're able to do is very quickly say, well, actually, I don't want to have a banner here, so let me go ahead and delete that. And then we might say, well, from the toolbox, let's drag in a text box so that we can actually welcome them when they read the email. And I'll quickly type that in. And I'll go ahead and center the screen. So we start to have rich editing capabilities. Well, if you're like me, you probably open a lot of the emails that you get today on your mobile device. So as we go into preview here, what we're actually going to be able to see is what is that email going to look like on the particular device that our customers are opening. So I'm going to switch from tablet mode that we're viewing right now and go into the preview mode here of that email. So we're happy with the way the email looks. We're really moving into event execution mode at this particular moment. So as someone who's managing the event, I'm actually guided by Dynamics 365. I'm given a step-by-step process that's actually going to tell me what I have to do at each stage. And we're at the moment of defining the agenda. What this also enables me to do is inform any one of my stakeholders in the organization of where we stand exactly at this time, at this moment, with this particular event. So for example here, we're defining the agendas, we have keynotes, we have breakout sessions, and so forth and so forth. So next step is receiving the insights of what's coming in as this journey is taking place. As I mentioned, we segmented data so we could see the number of customers that we've actually included in that group. If we select the marketing email message, we can actually get the specific KPIs behind that email message. How many were delivered, how many were opened, how many were clicked. But we can even drill further into those details and view the unique insights around that email. So here we can even go and see the fact that we have the top 10 links. How were they sent? Were they blocked? Or even where are people in the world opening the email the moment that it's being received? Now we could take it a step further and actually look at a heat map of those links. So we had several links in the email, and I'm happy to say that actually the most clicked link is the Register Now button. People are actually subscribing for the event. But I can also see that there's a lot of traction going on about people learning of the speakers who are attending at that event. So what I wanted to show at this moment is what do people actually see when they click to register the event. And that's where they're taken to the Dynamics 365 portal, which is actually hosting this particular event. And they're able to set up the specific sessions that they want, meet the specific speakers that they want, so they customize that event for their liking. Now at this point, the event is physically taking place. We're receiving online feedback in the form of surveys, but we might also be receiving offline feedback in terms of conversations that are happening. Now typically those get lost and are not passed on to the sales organization. In our example, one of our customers is actually providing feedback and wanting follow-up. So the marketing organization is capturing all that feedback and seamlessly passing it on to the sales colleague, who I'm now going to transition to and become that colleague. So what I do now is I'm using Dynamics 365 for sales, which is fully integrated with the marketing application we just saw. And what I can see here is a full-fledged opportunity that was captured from the event we just looked at. Now, the qualify stage has been totally filled out already in this case because the marketing department passed it on to me. And in fact, I've also been trying to get in contact with them for some time, but they're not responding to my deal. So I have an email reminder from the relationship assistant based on the intelligence that we have in the application. That I'm not getting the response, and I'm actually getting a best next action, which is to use the power of my LinkedIn network to actually ask for a warm introduction for this particular opportunity and try and break the deal so that I can actually drive it to closure. And right in Dynamics 365, we have the LinkedIn member profile available, and I can see all of the information of my opportunity, Peter DeWitt. I have a series of icebreakers, but I also have this feature here called Get Introduced. And I can browse my network and find a contact that I think is most applicable to provide me with that warm introduction to Peter so that we unbreak the stalled deal that we're working on. So as I click here and ask for introduction, what I'm actually going to do is type a particular message, in this case to Bas van Sluis, and say, hope you're doing well. Would you mind introducing me to your connection, Peter DeWitt? Thanks. Now, for those of you who are thinking, okay, you're using Sales Navigator in this particular instance, all the actions I'm taking here are seamlessly integrated with Dynamics 365, so I maintain the 360-degree view. So Bas provides me the warm introduction to Peter. Peter actually does reach out to me, and I provide information to him in the terms of a digital dossier through LinkedIn Point Drive. So it's a collection of material that I, as a sales colleague, can pass on to my customers, and now actually have the ability here to track who is actually viewing that information. And not only who is viewing it, but have they downloaded it, how long have they been viewing it, and have they passed that on to any of their other colleagues. So the good news here is Peter has passed it on to his colleagues, we've unblocked that stalled deal, and we actually closed that opportunity. So what we saw in this demonstration so far was we started with an idea of an event. We defined the customer journey. We segmented who was actually going to join us on that journey. Once we invited them to the event, we could see the real-time feedback of who's registering and applying for the event. We captured the offline feedback, passed it on to our sales colleagues seamlessly, and drove a deal to closure. And with that being said, back to you, Laurel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. So as James talked about earlier with the digital feedback loop, it is so true in talent and when you're dealing with people and what the people part of the digital transformation looks like. He mentioned Office 365. Imagine the people that you're meeting with, the connections, getting that data about what your organization and your network looks like. Equally true in LinkedIn. As I update the skills, the profiles, the capabilities, it's generating data throughout my digital experience. And we also have that across Dynamics 365. I love the story that James talks about because it's so true. If you think about which sales reps are meeting their quotas, how effective are people in the field, all of this data is accruing within the Dynamics 365 platform, both observational data from the interactions that people have day to day, as well as the business processes. If you imagine within your core HR systems, where am I living? What are my skills and competencies? All of that coming together. Now, talent, when we talk about talent, we're talking about the entire journey for candidates, for employees, for managers, all the way from hire to retire. And it's a full suite and set of applications and connected experiences. Now, I want to take a step back and talk about 4 key trends that we've been hearing in the human resources market. The first is the changing workforce dynamics. And I think when James talked about modern, this is where this really comes to life for people and in the people processes. Our employees are expecting mobile, people-centric, modern experiences. We're all on the fly and on the go. And so you need your people processes to be there with you wherever you are. And we can't have those forms over data anymore. It really needs to be these consumer-grade experiences for our employees. It's part of the brand for how we get folks into our organization. Now, one that's really close to heart, and I think close to all of our hearts, is the war on talent. It is a huge problem getting, retaining, and finding the right talent. We need to make sure that we are doing it just as efficient as possible, making sure that we're making the best use of our hiring managers' time and candidates. Because if we're not getting those candidates in quickly, it's our competitors that are going to get that talent instead. Now, the third trend that I think is really, really important is around culture and engagement. When we think about bringing employees into our organization, we want to make sure that we're building towards a diverse, inclusive culture. And in order to do that, you need to make sure that you're developing a culture and you're encouraging your employees to take control of their own development journeys, really empowering managers to be a part of the conversation and not leaving it to our HR professionals. Which takes us to, I think, the fourth key change that we're seeing in the human resources marketplace, which is moving to a more strategic role for human resources. Now you see the chief HR officers, the HR managers who get a seat at the business table. But in order for them to be able to do that effectively, they need to be able to have the tools to drive insights into their organizations. And they need to make sure that they're empowering managers and employees to self-service as much as possible and take control of their own career. So with Dynamics 365 for Talent, what we've done, or what we're continuing to do, is deliver a suite of connected modular applications to be able to address the full life cycle of employees from hire through retire. And as part of the spring release, we've introduced a number of key integrations to help round out and connect us back to the ecosystem in the portfolio. One of them is a partnership with Koru to help drive assessments and make sure that we're bringing the right candidates into our organizations. Another, payroll, and making sure that we have these connected processes, not just within your people processes, but back into your finance systems. So we've built a generic payroll provider as well as an integration with Ceridian to be able to provide worldwide payroll as part of the solution. And because we know that that integration between your finance and operations systems and your talent system is so important, we're releasing a preview of an integration between finance and operations and talent to make sure that the data is flowing end to end. Now, I'm excited to bring Lydia to the stage where we can now demonstrate some of the new capabilities that we're releasing in the spring release.
Great, thank you. So what I thought we could do is go through a typical hiring journey from finding the right candidates through to interviewing and then onboarding.
Yeah, as you know, my team is growing rapidly, and so making sure that we're bringing the right people into the organization as quickly as possible is essential.
Definitely. So great news, we've had a vacancy for a data scientist. And as you know, one of the challenges from day one is actually we've been given this vacancy, but because HR are incredibly busy, it can take between a few days and even a few weeks to actually get that job posted onto LinkedIn so we can start to receive those applications.
Yeah, because if my job's not posted, I can't tell my friends about it, reach out to my network, and start bringing candidates into the hiring process.
Exactly. So using Dynamics 365 for Talent, as a hiring manager, I'm actually empowered to go ahead and post that job out to LinkedIn myself. So what I've done is I've gone into Talent and I've created that vacancy myself, and I've captured all the information I actually need to then post this job. So that's things like my job description and location. I've identified my specific hiring team, and I've also created a streamlined and specific hiring process for this actual vacancy.
Yeah, one of the new capabilities we've introduced into the spring release is the ability to customize the hiring process, because depending on the talent or the industry that you're bringing in, you may have a different workflow that you want to bring into place.
Exactly. And what we want in this particular vacancy is an assessment. So I've gone ahead and added that into my process so that that's then going to appear to the candidate at the right time. So I've created my vacancy, I've posted it to LinkedIn, and now my recruiter can actually see who's looking at the job, who's applied for it and is already sitting in Talent, and I can also see any potential other matches that we might want to reach out to.
And this is a great example of where we're able to leverage the great talent marketplace that LinkedIn has available to funnel those candidates directly into Dynamics 365 for Talent.
Absolutely. So we've started to receive applications, and as you can see, Cameron has actually applied for this role. And I can see his resume, any other files that he shares, but importantly, his LinkedIn profile has been brought straight into Talent so that I don't need to go to two places to view that. And what we actually have in this case for Cameron is he's applied with a video application. So I can see on screen his application, and what Talent has done is it's gone away and it's started to provide some insights. We can see who's in the video, we can also see some keywords, and I think also importantly, the sentiment, because it's so important to get a cultural fit as well as matching the skill set.
And I think as we talk about sort of more modern hiring flows, making sure that we can bring these other mediums like video into the hiring process is essential. And it's certainly a time saver because, Cameron can record this whenever he's available, and then I can watch it as it fits in my schedule, because we want to get through this as quickly and as efficiently as possible, but driving with the intelligence that we can do with that transcript review as well.
Yeah, exactly. So for my transcript and for my resumes, we can translate into a whole host of languages. So no matter who's in my hiring team, they're able to view these resources and get a really clear understanding of who Cameron is. So he's provided this, and we're actually now going to go through to the next stage. And as I said, we want to provide an assessment to make sure Cameron actually has the skills that we require before we bring him in for interview.
Well, and this is super important because sometimes people put things on their resume that don't quite match up to their actual skills and capabilities. And so this is another tool that we can drive both efficiency and intelligence into the hiring process to make sure we're just meeting with the best candidates.
And I think if we combine Gauge within Talent and also the Choreo integration, we're getting the skill set assessment, but we're also looking that we're getting a diverse and capable workforce.
Yep.
So Cameron goes ahead, completes that assessment, and it's marked automatically. He passes it, and it's now time to go ahead and schedule an interview. And one of the challenges we face in interviews is that actually it's an incredibly manual process, scheduling, isn't it?
Yeah, I know large companies oftentimes have entire teams of people who do nothing but schedule interviews because you have to manage across all the internal candidates and then trying to match to the candidate's availability as well.
Yeah, and that's a massive manual process, isn't it? So using Dynamics 365 for Talent, firstly, we've identified the candidate availability by asking them to share that on the portal. And what we can then do using the power of Office 365 is go ahead and actually find that availability. So it's going to go into my details and it's going to find the best availability for my team. So we're going to look across everybody's diaries and essentially find, for the dates that the candidate's available, the first date that suits our team.
Yeah, it's great to be able to leverage the data directly from Office 365. And I think also if we've got remote attendees, we can have them leveraging Skype and have all that directly in the application. So it's in one spot, but using that intelligence to make it as efficient and quick as possible.
Exactly. So I found my dates, and we're now going ahead to complete our interview. And that means that all the members of the interview team meet with Cameron, either as a panel or individually. And what we can then do is come in and really easily record feedback. So I've started to record mine, but my colleagues can come in and add information as well. And ultimately we're saying, is Cameron a fit for our team?
Yeah, and I think the great news is Cameron really rose to the top. Now this is where the real time essence comes in, because if he's a hot candidate, all of our competitors are really going to be fighting for him as well.
Exactly. So the race really begins here. And what I want to do is really easily create an offer letter for Cameron that he can access electronically and sign electronically to get that offer accepted as quickly as possible.
Well, and that means Cameron can do this on the fly, on his mobile device. You know, even if he's on vacation, he can now accept our job offer and hopefully join our team.
Exactly. And in this case, we've had success. We've managed to get hold of Cameron and he's going to join our team. So the final stage in the process today is to go ahead and onboard Cameron. And what I've done is I've set up a really simple template, because there's lots of things Cameron will want to know. Who is he going to meet with? What tasks does he need to complete? And ultimately, what is his responsibility and what are our responsibilities? So I've created this template and I can share this information with Cameron. So I've created an initial welcome message, and then I've started to allocate activities. And this isn't just to Cameron, this is also internally. So there are tasks for different members of our team to make sure that when Cameron arrives on first day, everything is in order.
And that's one of the key new capabilities in the spring release, was really to add this level of collaboration, both to have other folks part of that onboarding process, to have some tasks assigned to them, as well as to let them edit and manage those templates together.
Exactly. So I've come ahead and I've created this, and let's see what that looks like for Cameron. So he can come in, he can start to complete those tasks, and actually some of those in my case are before he's joined using his personal email, and some of them are after, once he's had that corporate email.
Well, and it's really critical because particularly in some geographies, once you hire a candidate, there can be a long period of time before they actually start. And so to make sure that they're engaged, that they can hit the ground running on day one, that's really critical to ensuring the employee's success.
And we want Cameron to feel like he's part of the team before he even joins. And that leads me to the last piece, which is actually my favorite. And that's starting to share with Cameron contacts before he actually walks through the door on day one. And that means he can start to build out his network. And it means when he arrives on day one, he's confident and he can deliver value straight away.
This is excellent. So I think we've been able to highlight what that end-to-end journey looks like, from hire all the way to getting Cameron as part of our team, and highlight some of the new intelligent and efficiency and modern experiences that we deliver with Dynamics 365 for Talent Attract. Excellent. So now I'd like to introduce Mohammed Alam to talk about our product side of the business.
Thank you, Laura. So I'm excited to go into a little bit more detail on how digital product feedback loop, or feedback and signals coming from products, are really fundamentally changing entire industries and companies. James talked about where in the past, when the product left the warehouses and got to the customer, that's essentially when the connection between the product and the organization broke from how the customers were actually consuming the product. Unless somebody called you with a service request and said, something's broken, and then we need to kind of go fix that. Products nowadays are more connected and tethered back to the organization, and those signals and that telemetry is essentially transforming companies and introducing new high-value business scenarios, and in some cases entirely new business models that is changing these industries. For instance, live signal coming from the product through telemetry through an IoT-enabled device can allow you to do things like preventive and predictive maintenance, so get the issue fixed before the customer actually experiences it, or make the product make personalization more relevant to the customer based on their use, so they feel like the product's a better fit for them, or use those signals and improve product quality as the product's in market, and improve the production processes as well as I talked about getting into entirely new business models, which is instead of selling product as a one-time transaction, sell that product as a service to the customer, so you maintain that long-term relationship with the customer, which you now have from a signals perspective with the product, but now from a relationship perspective, that relationship can really be more long-term with those customers. So we're going to talk about in Dynamics 365, we've got a set of robust business processes that really allow organizations to address the product side of their organization, which is from design perspective to plan, to do all the production in Dynamics 365, move the goods to where they need to be from a warehouse perspective and all the way to the customers, as well as take care of the financial management activities and then the commerce and the retail aspects of the business as well. We've got robust capabilities in the application today in Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. And there's a lot of these areas that we're enhancing in our spring launch as well that's coming up here in April. However, from a product perspective, from a strategy perspective in Dynamics 365, what we're really focused in is how do we enable our customers to be able to take advantage of this digital signal that's coming from the product on a continuous basis to really drive higher level transformation in a way that they can adopt and consume and kind of grow into at a pace that makes sense for them, and eventually get to a point where they can take full advantage of the trends that are affecting industries and companies such as product as a service and disintermediation. Disintermediation in the sense that a lot of companies are now wanting to get into the business of selling directly to consumers as opposed to having sort of a channel and a distribution layer in the middle, or if not that, at least know how their products are being consumed so they can go back and kind of do a lot of the things that we talked about in the beginning, which is continuously improve the product quality, offer personalizations back to the customer to essentially keep the customer, their customer on a long-range basis as opposed to a one-time transaction. And that's kind of really the focus of finance and operations and the Dynamics 365 set of applications. So we're going to look at how we're enabling that with our spring release in Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. The scenario that we will walk you through is of a company that's in the business of producing a new line of 3D printers. These printers are the first ones that we have in this company that are IoT enabled, essentially connected back to us as an organization, sending signals in a real-time basis. These signals through Azure IoT first and foremost lands in our field services organization, because if there's an issue with the printer, the very first thing we want to do is make sure we get that addressed so the customer experience doesn't get impacted. Our field service technicians essentially operate within the boundary of Dynamics 365 for field service, where they can see the work order get generated because of the exception that came in through live telemetry, go through the scheduling and service the work order. If they need to consume any parts or component parts, they have that visibility in field service to be able to both reserve and consume those parts. However, as an organization, we use Dynamics 365 for finance and operations to really inventory, do the master planning and the replenishment of those component parts, as well as to produce the original printer as well. So all of that information is available in field service through the integration based atop CDS, our common data service that we're launching in the spring wave. But the field service organization can look at the products, look at the components, consume the inventory, while our production department can see the flow of service requests and issues that are coming in through the product through our field services organizations in finance and operations, and take higher value actions in being able to improve the product quality, offer more personalization and so forth, right? And that's really where the value comes in, right? Our finance department sees the same work order. They can execute their end-to-end functions in Dynamics 365 for finance to be able to take that work order, take it all the way from an invoicing, billing, and cash management perspective, as well as all the robust capabilities that are available in Dynamics 365 for finance in a seamless, in-process context of the same signal that came in from the device itself. But the value doesn't stop there, right? The higher value order is you have all of this data all the way from signals that are coming from the product to what you did in field service, to what you have in your production system, which we're using Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, through our sourcing and procurement that we do in finance and operations, through our finance systems that we do in finance and operations, a top common data service that allows us to do a level of analytics to drive the insights and then take corresponding actions that not only can improve the experience of the customer in a higher value fashion, but allows us to improve the product as well in a continuous basis, as opposed to feedback that historically used to lag many months, if not years, in terms of how well the product's doing in the marketplace. So that's the scenario we're going to look at in the application on how we're enabling that with our spring release. So here, I'm going to take on the persona of the product manager of this organization that just launched this new 3D 2000 printer, which is the IoT-enabled device out in the marketplace already. Here you can see, as a product manager, I primarily live in the world of finance and operation. I've got my set of products here. This is kind of where I master them. If I go into this product, I can see all the details that are relevant for me across the entire set of business processes that we need to enable. Here's where I've got the bill of materials defined. We've kind of simplified it in this example, where this printer's got 3 component parts, and we've got the manufacturing process as well from a routes perspective as to what does the production flow look like before the printer is completely manufactured and we ship it out to the customers. This is where I live from a product manager perspective. Here's where our manufacturing department lives, going to do the manufacturing processes, the sourcing and the procurement and so forth. Our field service department, however, lives in Dynamics 365 for field service. And this is where the signals coming from the devices first land. However, before I get to the work orders, you can see that the same products that as a product manager I'm maintaining and mastering in Dynamics 365 for operations are available in Dynamics 365 for field service, not just the finished goods, as well as the component parts for me to be able to kind of consume them in any service requests that I'm doing for our customers. From a work order perspective, when the IoT signal comes in and there's an exception based on the thresholds we've set in, it's going to generate a work order. You can see all the activities here, the work order. As I go through the execution and the completion of it, I can consume component parts as well, which will both reserve and consume inventory in finance and operations automatically through the integration that we were launching in the spring wave. Back in finance and operations, from a field service department perspective, I've kind of completed the request, I've consumed the component, I've got the customer back up and running. And if I go back to finance and operations, our finance department now has full view of the same work order, and they had all throughout from a continuous state perspective. But now that the work order is completed, they can actually go through the invoicing and the billing process for this work order that comes into Dynamics 365 for finance and operations as a sales order. And you can see all the component parts that were consumed here, reserved against the inventory, and then consumed against the inventory as well. So this is what we're enabling from a digital product feedback loop perspective, that the feedback that started proactively from a signal coming from the device allowed us to do the preventive maintenance for the customer, connected through the operation Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, allowing me to consume parts, as well as to kind of do the finance activities downstream to be able to kind of complete that process. However, for me as a product manager, the value, like I said, is in the analytics of it. So I want to be able to see, hey, what's happening with the set of products that I manage and maintain from a category perspective. So if I go into a set of dashboards and analytics we've enabled through embedded Power BI experiences, a top common data service in Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, I can see already that in the first view that I have, and I'm going to expand this so you can see it better, that while the product 3D P1000 is doing extremely well in the market, it's also sticking out like a sore thumb from a service cost perspective and the service hours that I'm spending maintaining that product. So that's something we need to go fix. I can also see that, hey, from a margin perspective, my sales and cost price, I've got a healthy margin in the product itself. But if we don't do something to really bring down the service cost, that's really going to marginalize the value prop for the product line, if you will, that we've just recently introduced. So I'm going to double click on this a little bit more and find out what's going on with 3DP2000. In the next drill through, I can already see in the top left chart that the dark blue one is the new product that we've introduced, and I'm really doing more service requests for this product than the other ones, which kind of would make sense. It's a new product. I've got the others that have been in the market for a longer period of time, but I'm going to filter here and find out why the service costs are as much as they are. And as I filter on it, I can see, because I have the data across field service, across finance and operations in one place, that there's really one component, RM024, that I'm having to replace over and over and over again for this product. So I need to come back and kind of look at it, what's going on with this part that's causing me to go back and replace it as much as possible. But then I can also see that from an average days of repair and a max days of repair perspective, we're actually spending the most time on this product. I know as a company, we've got some projects going in where we use HoloLens to provide a guided experience to our field service technicians to be able to kind of repair this new and complex product, because it's got a level of telemetry baked in that's newer for our field field service technician. So we're going to enable that, and that's landing in the future. So hopefully I'm going to expand the trend of this to go down over time soon as we land that readiness for our field service agents. But I'm able to kind of track that level of cost and readiness for our field service technicians to be able to kind of have a full view of how the product is operating in the marketplace. But let's come back to the component here. So if I look at the batches that, because I'm doing production in finance and operations, what are the batches that have actually produced these printers? I can see that between batch 1 and batch 2, I'm getting more cases in batch 1. And if I filter just between batch 1 and batch 2, it's going to tell me from a components perspective what's really the difference. And then you can see in the bottom right-hand side that most of the other components are the same, but RM024, which is the component I'm having to replace quite a bit, I actually changed the supplier between my two batches because the demand was so much, I had to get another supplier on board. And I can already see that with Fabricam is where I'm having a lot of trouble in having to replace the parts and the components and incur the service cost for us as a company. And this allows me, because we've got the set of business processes enabled all in Dynamics 365, atop a common data model, atop common data service, to get that transparency and the full visibility into that supply chain all the way from an issue that happened to the customer, to be able to get to the root cause, make corrective actions while we're still actively producing and shipping the product, which is doing extremely well, and both improve the customer experience, having them less downtimes, as well as reduce the cost of maintenance for us on a long-term basis. This, for us as a company, would kind of form the basis of obviously doing preventive maintenance, having a full view of how we're doing things from a quality perspective, but eventually really where we'd want to get into is, as we have confidence that we can kind of manage the service cost, we've got the signals coming in from the product, really land this product not as a one-time transaction with the customer, but more product as a service that we can sell them from a subscription or even in a consumption basis as well. So it allows and opens those possibilities for me as an organization. I don't need to do that day one, but the set of processes and the analytics allows me to kind of jump into that new business model in a way that's prudent for me as an organization. So that's what we're enabling, and that's how we're enabling the digital product feedback loop. Now I'm going to invite Charles onto the stage, and he will actually walk you through the platform that really brings to life the customer, product, and people feedback loops. Charles?
Thank you, Mohammed. So when we talk about the business application platform, it's a little different from everything else you've heard today. It's all about the digital feedback loop and how you can go transform your products, your customers, and your people engagement. And the really important detail for the application platform is that it brings the last mile of digital transformation. And the reason that's so important is if you actually go look at what a typical business process follows is you go look for a SaaS application that can come right off the shelf to quickly transform how you actually engage with those customers, the product, and the people. But the reality is that's not always enough. You have to go tweak that because no two businesses are the same. No two businesses engage their employees or their customers or their products the same way. And you need to have a platform underneath those applications that makes it very easy to go tweak and customize it to bend it to exactly what your business requires. But again, it goes even further than that. Sometimes you buy an application, you customize it, that's still not enough. You have to go build your own application from scratch, something bespoke for your business. And this standalone application creation is something that's so key to use through the business application platform because it allows you to go that last mile. Things that you never thought were possible to digitize, things that you never thought could be brought into your standard digital feedback loop, you can now do it with this business application platform. And if we look at the business application platform, there are two big elements to it. It's Power Apps and Power BI. Power Apps is all about making it easy and highly efficient to go create transactional applications. Power BI is all about making it incredibly easy and efficient to go create dashboards and insights and analytics on top of data that you're generating as part of operating your business. And these two products have significant updates with our April release. First, we have the Common Data Service for applications in the case of Power Apps, which has now been updated and combined with the existing Dynamics 365 for Customer Engagement Platform, or XRM, so that now all your sales, service, and marketing data is natively available inside the Common Data Service for applications. And it's easier than ever to go create applications with Power Apps on top of that data, with your security, with your business processes, and with your existing customizations. In the case of Power BI, we have the new Common Data Service for analytics, which makes it easier than ever to go create data lakes or data pools around your business data to go get insights and improve how you actually operate your business. And binding them together are two core elements. The first is the Common Data Model. a well-defined set of entities and business objects that are consistent across all of our customers from Microsoft and consistent across the common data service. And this common data model makes it incredibly easy for you to go build customizations at scale across customers and are industry standard and industry specific. Additionally, feeding into the common data model and feeding into the common data service, we have the data connectors to over 200 different systems, from other business applications like SAP and Salesforce and Workday to simple consumer-based file management like Dropbox and things like that. It's all supported out of the box without writing any code, completely natively integrated into the business application platform. And what's so unique for Microsoft is that this application platform between Power Apps and Power BI underpins Office, Dynamics, as well as your own custom standalone line of business applications. And the fact that it's one platform makes it easy to share your data, your files, your content, your people across all these different applications that you use each and every day. And with the April release, we actually have significant investments and improvements in regards to this integration. For Office 365, Power Apps now has better than ever Forms integration, as well as embedded web parts, so you can actually get an easy view on top of SharePoint lists and things like that. Additionally, Microsoft Flow allows you to very easily trigger workflows and automation right from inside of Excel. And the Common Data Service has a new and updated Excel integration as well, which is incredibly powerful. So you can use tools that you know and love to go interact with all these business data and business processes that are built on top of this platform. And the reality is, sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes you have to go drop down to a professional developer, because Power Apps and Power BI are very much power users, business analysts, or low-code, mixed-code scenarios. But you can go drop into Azure, something that only Microsoft can do. From Office, Dynamics, through the platform, all the way down to Azure, you can go build that last mile of digital transformation to go change how you engage with your customers, your products, and your people. And this package completely together is something that is incredibly powerful in the business application platform. And to show how real that is, we'll actually walk through a real-world demo from one of our customers. So Intercars is a great customer of ours. They use Dynamics 365 to manage their customer engagement and things like that. And today, they have a simple business process. And simple, I'll put in quotes, in that they have over 10,000 auto repair shops for which they go provide the loose tools, socket wrenches, screwdrivers, things like that. And to do that, they have 600 field engineers who actually are going out and making 100 visits to each of these, 100 different visits each and every month. It's just a huge amount of process around this engagement to go replenish kind of this example of this tool trolley. And what's challenging is that's formerly an entirely paper process. You're talking clipboard, pen and paper. You have a catalog this big to actually go track all the different tools, all the different sockets. I don't even know how many there are. Highly error prone, and because it's not digitized, you can't do anything intelligent on top of it. And although they use customer engagement to go track all of their accounts that they engage with, and one of their field engineers may go visit, that's not enough. There's nothing off the shelf to go inspect a tool trolley to replace socket wrenches. But the benefit is, with the application platform, part of Dynamics 365, they can very, very easily extend that to that last mile of digital transformation. So I'll switch over here to the Power Apps Web Studio, which is how you can go create these applications. And what's incredibly exciting is here, if I go to the gallery, I can go bind to data. And if you look about the data I can bind to, this is all data from the Common Data Service for Applications, which means when I choose account here, this is actually going to pull down the same data that we just saw in Dynamics 365 for customer engagement. It's not copied, no data integration, no movement, same security, same policy, everything available right inside of Power Apps. And Power Apps makes it very easily just to click around and say, get the view that I want. Maybe I want just an image and title so I can quickly see what I'm actually looking at. I don't want the account ID for the title there, of course. I can go switch this to the full name, and you kind of see very quickly I have this simple view of all the different accounts that I work with as a field engineer. And this mobile app I can start to go use and engage. But this isn't super exciting, right? I just got a list, and maybe I want to take an action. So when I click on one of these accounts, I navigate to a screen. And this is where the interesting stuff will happen. So I add that navigation in. I click through. I have a blank slate. So what do I want to do on this page? What I want to do is I want to make it so I can have an actual representation of what it looks like inside the tool trolley with all the sockets and screwdrivers and wrenches. So I can very easily, as a field engineer, open the drawer, quickly see what's missing, click on my app, and place an order. And this is the definition of digital transformation. None of this was digitized before. And we'll see in just a couple minutes we'll actually be able to create this. So first, I'll drop on a gallery. And the gallery is just a collection of items. And in this case, I want to bind the gallery to the products. What are the products that we actually sell? And again, because all of the digital feedback loop from customers to product are stored and integrated with the common data service, I can do this very easily with, again, honoring the same security. And that's not a very nice layout, of course, but maybe I want, say, title and subtitle and overlay. It gives me a nice little view like that. You can see all those different tool trolleys, and maybe I want to just quickly change the wrap count. I just want 1 per item. And there. So if you imagine if when I go into these locations as a field engineer 100 times each month, I can actually just quickly choose I'm visiting account number 1, and here's the tool trolley that I'm inspecting. But that's kind of still not super interesting, but I think it will get very interesting when you go to the next one. I'm actually going to be able to create a visual representation of a drawer in the tool trolley without having to write any code, and just using this PowerPoint-like process. So I say go come in here, drop in product items, and this is going to basically tell me all the sockets and things like that that are actually available inside this tool trolley. And this is a whole list. I don't want all the product items. The reality is I want to filter it down. And this expression language that we're seeing right here that I'm writing in real time, this is just like Excel. This is not code. You can write this type of thing in just a matter of seconds. So I say I want to do product ID, where I've already selected the product based on that previous thing, which tool trolley I'm looking at. And I say, go do that, and that will go give me back a list of all of the product ID, typo, danger of typing, there you go. And so if I go select something up here, I can quickly get this list of items specific to that tool trolley. What are the sockets that I actually want to go invest and look at? But again, it's just a list, not super interesting. But what I can quickly do is I can go over to this gallery, and I can actually change the layout to mimic what it looks like inside of the drawer. So I can say, hey, I want to go to, say, multiple columns, and I know that it's like an 8x4 drawer, so maybe I want to do wrap count by 8, and say I want to go resize this thing, and you can very quickly see I'm actually getting a representation of that drawer. This is what I'm going to see when I go to that tool trolley and open the drawer, right there on my mobile device. Not possible before. But I want to do more. I want to be able to order from this. So to do that, I'm going to go add a collect, which basically means I'm going to store what I've selected as I go through this little representation of the drawer, and say I want to collect this item. And it just kind of goes to a simple collection, which is stored on the mobile device until I go place order. And I say I want to go and insert a data table so I can see what I've actually collected. So if I drag this down here, and I can go bind, right, just like I was doing to the common data service before, I can now go bind that to that collection I just created. And when I bind it to the collection, I can choose what I want to show. I say I want to do the name, and maybe I want to do the position. And I'll drag this down a little bit. And so what's really cool is I can go click on one of these items, and maybe I add 2 of them. I want 2 of those socket items. But again, I want to make it super visually appealing, so I know what I've selected. So I can go back into the original gallery here, and I can actually do something pretty simple, again, using that expression language. And I can say, hey, if I've already added one of these items, so I say this item, oops, 1 second. If I say if this item is inside the collection I just created, I want to color it differently. So I say if this item in collection 1, and again, very much like Excel, simple expression language. You can come in and do this without writing any professional code. I want to set it to, say, blue-violet. And if I do that, we can quickly see, hey, this one I've already selected is now lighting up purple. And that's what's incredibly awesome about Power Apps as well, is it's completely WYSIWYG. As you're building this application, you can see it, you can interact with it, and all the visual treatments you do there's no compile, there's no activate or anything like that. It's completely visible right away. And this is what we could just build in 5 minutes. But just to give an idea of kind of the potential of Power Apps, if you say spend an afternoon building an app, you can create this app, which is, they say, the more deluxe version of it, which is you say, here's a different accounts that I may want to interact with. I go start my visit for this particular auto shop. This will come back with these trolley list here, and you can see I have this same type of great picture. I can then maybe choose, okay, I want this socket, this socket, this socket, that socket. And you can see I have all these ones appearing in this list with a picture now, much more advanced, much fancier. And then I click order, and you can see I can actually place the order right on site. That, again, that's that last mile. This is pen and paper, data entry, that type of thing. Now it's completely digitized on a mobile device for my field engineers. And you can even do very complex things. Like I want to request a 15% discount. You can do that. That's at your leisure as a field engineer. But when you cross, say, like 30%, it has to go to the back office. And I actually can no longer just submit the order. I actually have to request it. Go sign it, and submit, and that's what it takes. So incredibly powerful, simple application I can go build using this platform, richly integrated with the data and business processes you already have inside of Dynamics 365. And if this is interesting to you, we actually have another hour-long video available to go watch that does a deep dive of building this same application. And with that, I'll take the chance to turn it back over to James, who's going to go much more deeper on digital feedback loop and some customer stories. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the view here. Whoop, let me get my my slides back in order here. Here we go. Okay, so really incredible, actually. You know, if you look at the, I think it sort of pulls everything together. Modern, unified, top the same data, the ability to deliver an experience right where it needs to exist in a way that was never before possible. I mean, to me, you know, the comprehensive nature of our application portfolio across marketing, sales, service, operations, finance, and talent, incredibly powerful. But this ability to go create apps that could never be created before, the cost of this, the complexity, the risk, the lack of talent to go create a mobile application integrated with your core business systems and to deliver a transformative experience is really incredible. I mean, this is stuff that we've dreamed of for a long time that is possible now, atop your data, integrated with your systems. Very, very powerful. And that takes me to the next part of the presentation here, where we're going to talk a bit more about the common data model, the common data service. Because if you sort of unpack everything that we've talked about, it really does boil down to the data. Having the data and having access to that data through this rich palette of tools, the platform, and the applications is what makes all of this possible. And last week we announced the Common Data Service for Analytics, major updates to the Common Data Service for Apps. But one thing we also announced was a growing collection of partners that are coming alongside us, investing in and standardizing around the common data model and common data service. And the first partner that we worked with to do industry extensions is Eric Levin with Advantage CUNA Mutual. Come on up, Eric. Let's talk about what you've done.
Thanks for having me, James.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, talk about CUNA. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so CUNA Mutual Group has been around for about 80 plus years. We service 97% of the credit union space within the U.S. marketplace. So we do everything in insurance. So we do everything from bonding of the credit union all the way to insuring their members. So whole life as well as auto insurance, that kind of stuff. So the whole gamut in between. One of the interesting things that has happened is over the last 2.5 years, we've seen the industry changing, and we've gone in and of ourselves through digital transformation. And a lot of that was customer-driven development, focused on lean startup type mentality. But ultimately out of that, we heard, help us with our data and analytics journey. So we started a subsidiary called Advantage Analytics that is meant to do just that.
Got it. And so the common data service, just to sort of ground this back out. So if you can land your business data in known form, both structurally and semantically, now you've got just sort of one need to go create value from that data. And so if all of your credit unions have their data in that form, suddenly implementing new solutions and extracting value becomes far, far easier. And one of the things that we're trying to do with the common data model is to ourselves at Microsoft and with our partners focus on marketing, sales, service, operations, finance, and talent, sort of the horizontal entities. But we are going to, industry by industry, work with partners like you to extend that common data model to make it available for specific industries. And so talk about how we've done that for the credit union industry.
Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about the 3 key products that we offer today. So we talk about it in terms of organize your data, understand your data, and execute on your data. Organize Your Data is our data warehousing solution, and ultimately it addresses one of the major pain points that credit unions have. You talk about a data estate and organizing your data estate. That's essentially what our data warehousing solution does for credit unions. The technology landscape that they're operating within today is roughly 10 plus key systems that they would operate their financial institution off of. Each of those different capabilities, whether it's loan origination or mortgage origination, has different providers. And then each of those implementations has customization, up to like 30% customization per credit union. So when you start thinking there are 6,000 credit unions in the US, that's a very interesting fractured ecosystem to deal with.
10 categories, multiple vendors, it's a nightmare.
It's very complex, yep. So what we do is we'll actually go into credit unions and help map their data into our standardized, industry standardized data schema. And what we've done with our partnership with Microsoft is actually, extend the CDS environment into that industry vertical data set, so that now the entire digital transformation suite that you guys have that was just talked about comes to life with industry standard data now.
Got it.
The other two products are Understand Your Data and Execute on Your Data, and that's our visualizations and reporting and performance management solution. That's built on Power BI, so that's leveraging the CDS and ultimately trying to drive business insights into credit unions. And then the third one is Predictive Analytics, our Execute on Your Data, and that's really focused on some of our machine learning, use case driven things that are highly important to credit unions and how we can address those needs for them.
Data, insights, action.
Yep.
And so what's sort of the ultimate benefit for your customers, our joint customers?
Well, so we've been in the credit union industry for 80 plus years, and we are devoted to the credit union industry. And one of the things that we see with this partnership is that ultimately, through the data platform that we're working with you guys with, and then ultimately the integration into CDS, now all of a sudden your entire digital transformation tool set comes to life. And the first two products that are coming to life, quite frankly, are our visualizations and predictive analytics on top of that, right? But as well as marketing, sales, all the different things that were just demoed today. But I'm extremely excited because you think about digital transformation and even the notion of Power Apps and what you just saw. I mean, that type of thing would have never happened in the credit union space. They're too resource constrained and they don't have enough capacity for that. Okay. And now we can seamlessly enable the entire digital transformation suite through our integration into CDS.
Cool.
So it's very exciting.
Cool. So enough talk. Let's take a look. So
right.
The other Eric is going to come up and you guys are going to show us how it works.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Thank you for joining me, Eric.
Thanks for having me.
So what Eric and James just talked about is really how the Advantage Analytics solution enables the digital transformation for credit unions. What we're going to show you is how they've extended the common data service with industry-specific financial services data to truly provide a solution that enables intelligent insights for managers and actionable analytics for their employees. Let's take a look. So for a credit union, it's very easy to onboard this new application. They simply come into AppSource and within a matter of minutes can walk through this process, connect directly in to the Advantage Analytics data platform, which then automatically maps the data directly back into the common data service for the customer and presents an application in Power BI to analyze their data. So let's take a look at that dashboard. So here, within the credit union, in a matter of minutes, created this application, connected to that data service, brought all that industry information together, and really present a visual view of the performance of this credit union.
And I think what's awesome about this, Eric, is if you think about what we just talked about in terms of the data silos, the different systems, something like this where a credit union can see through a single pane of glass all the different information that impacts their members, that is tremendously impactful for them, right? So you can see everything from CDs to checking accounts to credit cards. All of those are historically in different systems, and being able to pull that all together into one picture, game changing.
Awesome. So bringing all this data together, presenting this view is fantastic. But again, we talked about being interactive and being able to drill in and understand this data in more detail. So as we drill in, we can look at specific information. And here I see a visualization that's trending, which for me as a CFO in this case would be very interested in. But what we can also do now is do some additional insights into this data and analyze it and understand further what's going on with this data so that we can truly understand the impact of this data and how it drives additional performance. We can also do things like asking questions and using natural language and determine what is going on within this information. So we can look here and see we have a bunch of branches performing very well. Branch 122, branch 180 are sitting well here. So what I want to analyze is, let's take a look at this data by our actual members. So if we can reset this query, so again, just using natural language, show me the branches by members. I can see branch 122 in this case was performing very well, but obviously had a very low number of members. So an interesting insight. I can now also say, let's take a look at this maybe by share distribution. So this takes the data and now gives me a visual report of the performance. And as I look at this data, I can determine, wow, 630% growth based on branch 122. It had the fewest number of members. It's driving significant impact. And this is obviously all based on the fact of CDs, and how pulling this data together is now giving me the insight to say this is a unique insight. Small number of users, but CDs are really driving some impact.
Yeah, and what's impactful for this is ultimately, you know, as a CFO, I need to understand how I can modify my portfolio of products, where I'm digging into offering those at different product combinations or whatnot. And you're able to see, okay, well, this branch is excelling here. How can we leverage some of that over in this branch? And it creates a very interesting dynamic that credit unions wouldn't have had before.
Absolutely. So now we can really bring that data from all those different systems together, get that view, and pull this information together. Let's do some further analysis by going back to the home page and take a look now at maybe some of the CD information. So again, we're going to drill in and see a representative view. And right off the bat, we see there's about $37 million worth of CDs expiring. And when we click on that, we can further drill down into the data and determine that about 137 members have this 12-month CD. And now exactly who are those members that have that CD that's expiring? Really powerful insights for the credit union.
Yeah, and I think what's great about this is, so thinking about a CFO coming in here and being able to say, hey, you know, this typically would be a monthly report, right? So they can in real time see, here's where my CDs are falling, and ultimately we're going to want to run some sort of a campaign to recapture that so that we continue being able to lend with that money that's invested into the credit union, right? So now I can call up my marketing and say, hey, let's go run a campaign, which typically it would have been a monthly process, right?
Because we've aggregated all this data, because we now have presented this back from these multiple systems into this one view.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, let's actually talk about the actionable side of this. So these rich visualizations that we've added directly into the Common Data Service and into Power BI enable the managers to get that view and analyze data, but really the value is driving those actionable, driving these actionable analytics. So that exact same experience that we presented to the CFO is now enabled to an organization using Dynamics 365 for marketing, because this data and all this industry data sits in the Common Data Service and these visualizations have been provided. They can easily extend Dynamics 365 for marketing, bringing this together, right? So now as a marketeer, I can see that exact same visual. I can click, I can see that exact same filter, and I can determine those same 12-month CD expiring members and have that result set. But beyond this, I can now come and say, let's actually create a marketing list off of this data. So bringing these visualizations from Power BI into the application, embedding a Power App to take this data and pass it into a marketing list in Dynamics. So now imagine this marketer is targeting exactly who they want based on the aggregation of all this data.
Yeah, so I think one of the important things to just not miss with this is we talk about data at the center of everything, right? We talked about the feedback loops, and ultimately, you know, this process would have taken a very long time, because it would have been the CFO saying, hey, I need to run some sort of campaign. They probably talk to the marketing person has to go ask technology to go extract some member list from some back-end system, and you know, you're seeing it happen all instantaneously because data is at the center and it's extended in a vertical way, right? So now you can actually drive marketing lists directly off of industry-specific data instead of just the horizontal data that would be available.
Truly the power of all this data coming together in the Common Data Service, presented in these rich visualizations in Power BI that are interactive and drive these actions for this marketer. Well, let's actually take a look at another scenario. So organizations using Dynamics 365 for their service aspect. So imagine we receive a call from one of those people that we target, and we can now bring data from the data model, from Power BI, these rich, intelligent-based insights directly into the experience. So now I get a holistic view of the member. When I look at the member, I can actually see this information. Again, all of these trends, all of these data, but now again, providing the intelligence on top of that data to determine that this member is a high attrition risk, and also suggesting a next best action, again, based on machine learning algorithms to recommend that there's an opportunity to sell an auto loan to this customer to mitigate that attrition risk and automatically generate those activities for this potential representative here to talk to them about that opportunity and work through this information.
Yeah, so this is probably my favorite screen because it really shows how the industry-specific data to the credit union can come to life in one single screen. So, you think about a customer service rep typically would have 10 tabs open. Somebody calls in, they're juggling tabs trying to figure out what context I should talk to this member in. Now suddenly they look up with one screen, they're able to see, hey, CD was maturing. We just sent them a marketing email talking about CDs, and we're able to see the trends of their account balance and all that context in one seamless experience. And that's a pretty cool thing when you think about it.
Super impactful. So we've showed you how through the power of the Common Data Service and Power BI, the Advantage Analytics application really enables the digital transformation for credit unions. Thank you very much for joining me today, Eric.
Thanks for having me.
And back to you, James.
All right, thank you very much, Eric. So if we go back to the slides. All right, so thank you very much. The next product that we're going to look at is Dynamics 365 Business Central. So a lot of what we've shown today, sort of the characteristic of Dynamics 365 is that it is unified in its ability to work together across a common data substrate, the common data model, common data service. But for smaller organizations who want one package that's sort of all-in-one that works out of the box, we've introduced Dynamics 365 Business Central. It's based on our Dynamics NAV technologies, and we're super excited to be able to bring this to market to serve customers who want a unified solution to automate their entire business. And to show us what we've introduced, I'd like to bring up Errol to take us through a demo.
All right, thanks, James. And I have the pleasure today of really representing a business owner, an organization that's quickly grown from 5 to 150 employees. And as a result of that, I'm still really involved in the day-to-day business. I need to interact with customers, vendors, and employees really easily. But at the same time, I also want to be strategic within my organization. So as a result of that, I'm actually going to start my day where probably all of you started this morning at 6 a.m. like I did, and that's in Outlook. And as a result of being able to consume and surface Business Central information directly here in Outlook, I'm able to quickly interact with customer emails, emails from employees, vendors, etc. In this situation, something as simple as a request for a quote, I can surface the information of Business Central and see everything that I need to about this customer and very quickly deliver a quote to them in a matter of clicks. And in fact, it's so intelligent that it understood the context of the body of the email, and as a result, it delivered to me 2 items that it saw in the email itself. And as a result of that, again, I can quickly send this off to this particular customer. Another situation that comes up is sort of those, what I call ad hoc workflow, which is a situation where an employee has sent me a request, and the request, again, is on a document. Dynamics 365 Business Central is able to understand a document number and as a result surface the document, again, right here in Outlook. And as a result of that, I can act on this particular document, add the discount that's needed, and send it on really quickly. As a growing organization, we're using Microsoft Flow to really unify the people and process that we need to within our organization. And so in this situation, as a result of a large quantity on a purchase order, it automatically generates something for me that surfaces this information through Microsoft Flow. And as a result of being able to drill into the details, I can see exactly what's happening on this inventory item and see the details of the inventory item so that I can act on this request. And in fact, through embedded Power BI, we can expand the information on this inventory item and see not only the information that's coming from Business Central, but also see the opportunity status, which is information that's coming from Microsoft Dynamics 365 for sales. And so combining the information all together so that I can make really easy decisions. So now that I'm actually in the application service, Dynamics 365 Business Central, let's take a quick look at how I might interact with this service, again, still from my home in my home office. What it does for me is it surfaces up headline information of things that are happening within my business that's readily available to me. At the same time, I can see the actions that I normally take right here really quickly. And as I mentioned, it has embedded Power BI at all aspects of this application, including the home page, on customer pages, vendor pages, inventory pages, etc. Let's take a look at a couple of items that I have for to-do lists right now. So again, we use Dynamics 365 for sales, but also in this solution, we're in the process of actually changing a few things, which is we're going to be reassigning some salesperson codes. Now, for organizations my size, where we really love to play is actually in Excel. These types of organizations love to work in Excel, and it's very easy for them through our solutions to change things like salesperson's code and do it across the entire set of the customer data. And so by editing this information in Excel, I've quickly changed my salesperson codes and reassigned them. Let's take a look at the other item that we were dealing with. In this case, I had an item to do for today to actually check the inventory reorder status. And so again, this is an intelligent solution that surfaces and suggests things relevant to, in this case, my inventory items. So if you think about that London swivel chair that we had a quote for earlier, I see here that my inventory forecast is going to be negative very shortly. And not only does it tell me that, but it can actually suggest order quantities based off of the information that's in our data model. And at the same time, it asks me if I want to add other items that are specific to this vendor, which I can easily do, and then have a purchase order that's combined with intelligent information that Business Central has given to me as a small and medium-sized business owner. Now, although we're small and growing, we still need to be agile and adaptable, and that's something that we want to do. And we allow them to do that through the ability to personalize the solution with simple drag and drop capabilities of personalization. I can move items around my home page. I can also go to my customer lists and change things on my customer lists. Now, normally this would be things that would require a programmer to do and would take time, money, and effort. But these things are easily consumed through this personalization model, even though I'm on a cloud application service. So things as simple as adding fields to a list are done by me, a business owner, instead of a programmer. So I think what you've seen here is really the power of a solution, Dynamics 365 Business Central, that allows organizations to unify their people and process. It allows them to get greater insight and be intelligent because of the information that's in the solution and able to be surfaced through things like embedded Power BI. And it also allows these organizations to start easy and grow quickly and become adaptable with things like personalization. So I want to say thank you, and I'm going back to you, James, for the final.
Thank you very much, Errol. So we've just gone through a tremendous amount of material. My head is spinning, actually, and it's funny. You know, you go through these demos, and you've got this persona, that persona, this persona. So it's a lot to take in, a lot of material. For those who want to sort of take your time and drill more deeply, we've got I think probably 100 hours of additional video where you can go into each one of these products, services, the platform, the applications, and get information at your pace, where you're very interested in sort of going more deeply. And so if you follow the link that's on your screen right now, you can find those videos. You can find our release notes, which gets into the nitty-gritty details of all the capabilities that have been added. It's an amazing release, Spring 18. And I would argue that it is, in some ways, an opening salvo for a set of capabilities that you will see every single 6 months coming out of this organization. We are literally just getting started. The ability to take all of these capabilities across Dynamics 365, the broader Microsoft Cloud, we're going to be a freight train of innovation out of this organization. And we're looking forward to seeing you again in 6 months when we do the next one of these events. Thank you very much.
In today's data-driven world, a successful business is one that can analyze information with the intelligence to anticipate and respond to customer needs in real time. That is where Microsoft Dynamics 365 comes in. With the power of the intelligent Microsoft Cloud, it seamlessly unifies CRM and ERP capabilities, along with the productivity applications to enable you to identify and capture new opportunities. With Dynamics 365, all key parts of your business are connected. You are empowered to collaborate across geographies, have the insight to make critical decisions, take advantage of new trends, disrupt, adapt, and reimagine what's possible. Dynamics 365 enables you to transform your business for the digital age, giving you the ability to innovate quickly, move new products to market, develop meaningful relationships, and win new business virtually anytime, anywhere. With connected systems, every aspect of your sales and operations are optimized and easily controlled. So you have insight into your orders, inventory, and are able to develop, manufacture, and ship your products on time and on schedule. The pace of business is constantly changing. To anticipate your customers' needs, you need bold, innovative, integrated solutions that reinvent your products and your processes. Microsoft Dynamics 365 brings together the best of Microsoft technology, connects you to what matters, unlocks new opportunities, and moves you forward like never before.